So today we're back and there's an update kind of on David that I did want to talk about. Now, ideally, the update would have been that David has been arrested. I think the thought on my mind, and probably your mind if you've been following this case, is how has he not been arrested? Because realistically, so much has been going on. There's so much evidence online, just based on what we online people have found, that is pretty telling in my opinion. So I can't even imagine how much evidence there is on the technology that they took from David's house. So I'm wondering, how is it that between what's online and readily available to all of us, and then what's on these devices, how has this man not been arrested? Also because I kind of feel like it's enough to have a dead minor in your car. That should be enough to get arrested. No? I mean, that was just how I interpreted things. Maybe I misunderstand the law. So I did a little bit of research in terms of what David was up to because I had a feeling there was some other shady shit going on, and I fear I was correct because this man is shady to a degree that I cannot even put into words. So let's talk about it. David's subreddit locked after Redditors accuse him of moderating it. People were quick to notice unusual activity on David's official Reddit subreddit, claiming posts that raised concerns about the case and lyrics were removed. Because David was listed as the sole moderator of his account, users accused him of trying to control the narrative in favor of portraying him in a more positive light. But hours later, the subreddit was locked and Redditors were no longer allowed to make posts. Many alleged that David left the subreddit, which disables others from posting any further. One must request to join the community before they're allowed to post. Because David was also removed as the owner, there is no one on the moderator list. This all comes after someone who claimed they moderated David's Discord server and Twitch channel posted a message saying they did not know about Revis. That's Celeste, the minor that David was quote-unquote dating. According to that admin, based on what was shared in David's Twitch streams and from Revis' role in the Discord server, they believed she was around 18 or 19 years old. We're going to talk about the age thing because I call bullshit on some of this. Anyway, what we don't know. It's unclear who the admin was and their relationship with David, but according to the statement, the mods had minimal contact with David or his management. However, TMZ reports the moderator is not employed by Twitch and the statement was not made on behalf of Twitch. So the interesting thing here is the fact that the subreddit went down or is locked, whatever the case may be. It could be that David left. I think that David leaving was an alternate to locking it, because locking it immediately makes it look suspicious. Leaving could just be like, I don't want to be involved in anything online while all of this is going on in his private life, which I even struggle to say that because it doesn't really seem like he's been super heavily affected in terms of the law. He hasn't been arrested. I know that there are cancellations of the tour. I don't know if it's fully canceled because at first I saw that only a couple dates were canceled until October. Now I don't know if it's fully canceled. But aside from that, it doesn't really seem like anything has happened in terms of the beginning of consequences, like being arrested, like investigations. Now, like I said prior, and I didn't focus on this in the first video because not much has come out of it, there's a Hollywood Hills home that he was staying at that was raided, and we'll talk about that a little more, but nothing of significant has come out of it aside from some taken objects, like I think it was a computer amongst other things. But we don't know anything about that just yet. The good news is that not long after David's name was linked to the Tesla investigation, he was dropped by Crocs and Hollister just days after he was announced as the face of their Dream Drop collaboration. On Wednesday, September 17th, detectives with the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division served a search warrant at a Hollywood Hills home believed to be occupied by David. According to TMZ, detectives seized a computer and left with several evidence bags after the search. Authorities have not named David a person of interest or suspect in the case and said he continues to be cooperative and is assisting in the investigation. I don't know in what world we could say, hey, there's this guy, we found a dead young girl in his car, but he's not a suspect or a person of interest. So who is going to be the person of it? I understand continuing to investigate, I understand looking at other avenues, but you can't just ignore the little old fact that she was in his car, dead, There are pictures of them together. There are videos of them together. And again, this is what's readily available to me, some random idiot on the internet. So if I can find that stuff, surely you guys can find more on his personal devices, right? I tend to believe that the pictures that were posted didn't just appear on the internet and are on no device of his. Also, why would you not ask for his device, his phone records, whatever you want to get that's related to his communication, and see if anything goes to Celeste's number, which obviously there will be texts, videos, whatever. So I'm just kind of like, what are we waiting for? Because I feel like there's a bunch of evidence that's just sitting around. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm consistently missing something in this case because it does not add up to me how this man is still free. Just wondering how all this is going down. So, in other fucking suspicious things in this case, as if there weren't enough, R&B singer David has broken the lease of his Hollywood Hills home amid an investigation into the dismembered body of a missing teenager. All stuff we know. The news on the lease comes nearly a week after the home was raided by the Los Angeles Police Department Homicide Unit. So according to TMZ, police swooped on the house David had been staying at on September 17th in search of something resembling blood evidence. They were checking drains to see if there was any blood evidence or blood or tissue that was in the drains there, he said. So they did scouring of this house looking for any evidence. Police told TMZ that the home was about a block and a half from where David's Tesla was parked before it was towed. Several items of evidence were recovered and will be analyzed by detectives in the coming days. This is an ongoing investigation. Investigators are following up on several leads. First of all, David abruptly broke the lease of this house, this $20,000 lease, right? And I don't think that's necessarily surprising, but the fact that he is disappearing seemingly from everywhere. So he broke the lease, he's fucked off from his Reddit, I'm assuming he's fucked off from his Discord. All of that, I mean, having no activity there makes sense, and I think that's smart when you're under investigation. But to try and kind of wipe things, lock things, not let anyone speak, I think that's a little bit odd. And granted, you obviously don't want people starting theories about you if you were innocent, which I don't think is the case here. But anyway, but at the same time, locking things, leaving, or stopping people from commenting, I don't think is a good look in this particular case. But I digress. I've never been a murder suspect. Right, sorry, he's not a suspect. So here it says that David canceled the rest of the tour, so I suppose that is the latest. While the police haven't officially linked David and the victim, a leaked David song mentions Celeste multiple times, which, again, I think that's kind of like the weakest thing that connects them, because, again, there is photo and video of them together. They were online together on Twitch. I have those recordings, like, what do you mean? I don't understand why they're kind of tiptoeing around saying that they're linked, because they are linked. I don't get it. So this is another interesting thing. So a weird thing to do with the lease, and I don't know if this is common practice with celebrities, so maybe I'm wrong, but basically the lease to the place that David was renting was actually under his manager's name. So the $20,000 lease was connected to the manager, right? Well, it turns out, and this is according to TMZ, which you guys know, I don't really like TMZ, but it seems like their reporting is a little bit more direct. Like I said, a lot of these publications are kind of tiptoeing around certain things, which is odd to me, but anyway. A security company installed cameras outside the home years before David's manager signed a lease. So there are cameras there. So what faster and better way to connect someone to David than checking the cameras and seeing who is entering and exiting the house, namely Celeste. And it says the homeowner says the cameras are positioned at entry points in the backyard and on the street, and he believes people cannot go in or out of the house without being recorded. Call me stupid, but would this not be perhaps the first thing you would look at in terms of if you're trying to link them and you don't think there's enough out there? Link it via she was at his house. Even just once, that's enough to make a link, and we know that probably was well over one time. So, hello? I'm really confused as to how being on Twitch together is not the link you need, because clearly you are in a room together, I'm assuming at his house, so does that not say enough? That's a key element because cops were looking into the possibility that Celeste was killed inside the home, which goes back to what we saw in the other article about them looking for blood or tissue placing her in the home. So according to this TMZ article, it also says that the idea of breaking the lease was agreed between the manager and the actual owner of the home. Mind you, the owner of the home didn't even know that David lived there, but I guess that's another can of worms. That's how they're positing it. But again, I don't know if breaking the lease is a kind of way to try and separate himself from all of it. It might just be a smart move because obviously he can't chill in there if they're investigating and doing, I don't know what kind of potential crime scene investigation or sweeps, whatever it is. But it still looks odd to kind of try and leave everything. There are people online who are claiming that this breaking of the lease is kind of David's way to try and fuck off, and I don't know necessarily, but maybe leave the country before something concrete is held against him and he actually can't leave or he's arrested, so on and so forth. That would not surprise me at all, considering that the circumstances right now seem pretty chill, considering we are talking about murder. This isn't drugs, which is still serious, but this is a crime that ended someone's life. The way this is being treated, it would seem like he did something serious, but not as deep as a murder. And that's why I'm confused about all of this, because this seems to be treated in a kind of la-di-da way, and maybe it's just how it's being reported on, but I'm confused about all of that. So relating back to the whole Reddit situation, it also seems like he was deleting posts because people were connecting his creepy lyrics to the ongoing situation right now. And like I showed you in the prior video, which I'll link down below, there are also music videos that refer to murder. There's his song Romantic Homicide. So people are making connections there, and it goes back to what I was saying in the prior video, where to some extent it almost seems like he wanted to be caught. Maybe some of these songs were written before anything happened to Celeste, but it's very hard to disconnect the two things. And I'm not saying this was a premeditated murder, but even if you wrote songs about homicide, like Romantic Homicide, and then you happen to later be allegedly a murderer, it's not exactly premeditation, but it makes me feel like you kind of knew that something was off with you and that you could be capable of that. But that's just me. Lastly, and this is a thing that pissed me off, so I'm not gonna go on about it for too long, but there were some people who were claiming online, so this is not even founded in my opinion, but people were claiming online that they thought that Celeste lied about her age because, like we said, people in the Discord and people around David generally seem to not realize that she was not 18/19. If you look at this picture, does this seem like an almost 20-year-old to you? Does this seem like a full-ass voter to you? Really? Really? Because I'm terrible with ages, especially young children. Very hard for me to tell the difference. But honestly, to me, this is quite the baby face. This does not say to me, yes, she's 18 or she could go clubbing. She does not look anywhere within the sphere of adulthood to me. But people are trying to claim that she lied about her age, kind of trying to exonerate David to some extent, which is wild to me. Also because if you just talk to someone, you will be able to tell if they are under 18. So my camera died while I was filming, and I think my camera too has had enough of the bullshit in terms of this case. If you are an adult and you're talking to someone who is a young teen, you'll be able to tell that they're not an adult. You might not know their exact age, but you can tell that they're not an adult and they don't have adult responsibilities, much like paying bills or having a job or going to university or whichever one of these things pertains along with other adult things. So the whole concept that she lied and he just happened to not know or pick up on anything is absolutely wild to me, let alone the fact that whenever they first met, which people are stipulating was she was 11 or 12, I don't want to go into all of that because I don't want to just guess. But whenever they did meet, even if she was 15, which she wasn't, she was younger, she was living with her parents. So she had to obey certain rules. Even teens that have super chill parents or teens who don't give a fuck about what their parents say, there are markers that denote that someone is not of age, right? So this whole thing of saying that she was lying seems like another pathetic attempt to exonerate David, and I'm really not here for that at all, aside from the fact that I actually don't believe she lied about her age at all also, but I digress on that. In terms of other news that is maddening, depressing, enraging, we also have the fact that David's streams surged. Let's remember, this is a pedophile, and, in my opinion, a murderer / alleged murderer. And while David has seen some fallout from the incident, losing his partnership with Hollister and Crocs, as well as some support from his record label, he's actually seen a surge in popularity with his name in the headlines. As Popbase reported over the weekend, David's hit song Romantic Homicide was the biggest gainer on the global Spotify chart last week, moving up 102 spots to number 42 with 2.157 million streams. The song also rose 63 spots to number 13 on the US Spotify chart with 849,000 streams. Romantic Homicide later re-entered the top 10 of the US Spotify chart at number 10 with 936,000 streams. Additionally, David was the biggest gainer on Spotify's global top artists chart, Popbase reported, as he surged up 63 spots to number 90 on the chart thanks to an influx of streams. So amidst all of this, he's gaining popularity, probably gaining money in some way. I'm not really sure how Spotify works with all of that, but regardless, he's gaining. It's a net gain. And that is absolutely wild to me because it seems like people are forgetting that this is a whole pedophile and, as far as I'm concerned, a murderer / alleged murderer. So I can understand being curious about his music. I can understand wondering who this person is and trying to understand things, especially the song Romantic Homicide, since people talked about the lyrics. But this is to a degree that is so insane because to go up so many spots, like to have that many more streams, that makes me feel like he got some fans amidst all of this, and that is so disgusting to me. I can barely find the words because it's like, really? Imagine you start listening to David now and later on someone asks like, oh, were you a fan of him before everything happened? It's like, no, after. When I found out he was a pedophile and potential murderer, that's when I started really liking his music. Let me just stop. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.